Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Will Ospreay makes his full-time debut. Titles changed, returns happened, and the legend, the icon goes out in the most brutal way, or in the most brutal tag team match you could imagine. We're going to get into that and more on the channel with me, your host, Adam Cousins, and I am joined by my illustrious co-host, my AEW mastermind, the problem child himself, Mr. Dave Robinson. Dave, good evening. Apologies for those of you watching on YouTube. Yes, that is blood coming from my face. I have cut myself shaving and it will not stop. Dave, how are you?
But there was glass everywhere in that main event, mate. So there was a lot of blood. It spilled over onto the podcast.
It certainly has. It spilled over to my face. Before we get into Revolution, let's just talk a little bit. There's some news that come out after Revolution first, but we'll talk first about the news that come out before Revolution. Now, there was a match change on the show. It was meant to be one of my favorite matches, a meat slapper. And it was going to be Miro. It was going to be a couple of other guys. And funnily enough, they only announced 3 guys. And then Tony Khan announced, due to injuries, we've had to change the match. And the injuries were to the people that wasn't even announced on the show.
Miro and Keith Lee, wasn't it? That was
Miro and Keith Lee. Sorry, that was it. And then Miro bizarrely tweeted to a fan that questioned him. He'd been out since September with an injury. Sorry that he didn't know. And I was like, what is going on with Miro and AEW?
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? I mean, I don't think Miro's had the run that we all wanted him to have. At times he has. It's been great, but there's seemingly a lot of tension there and a lot of frustration. And it's kind of spilt over. I think he's a name that people would have wanted him involved in the match, but as you say, he's been nursing a long-time injury. So if that's news to Tony Khan, then that makes you think maybe Tony assumed he'd be back by then. Maybe just the communication's broken down a little bit. We did kind of get that meat segment in that match.
We did,
which was still pretty good. But yeah, it wasn't more. What were they calling it to begin with?
The meat slapper.
Meat
Madness or meat something like that. Anyway, I thought it was the meat slapper, but yeah, something along those lines.
But yeah, Miro, hopefully he's back soon and he's not somebody else that kind of disappears. You could see him going back to WWE really at some point, but CJ's there as well with him. So certainly it's been a very stop-start run in AEW. We've seen some great matches, matches with Danielson, matches with Andrade, matches with Hobbs, Wardlow. No, it's face Wardlow. No, it's face Wardlow.
No,
I think it was Hobbs Wardlow.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully he's back soon. But yeah, confusing situation with that one.
Yeah, very confusing. Just a quick WWE side note before we get on to the second news, and I know it's AEW, but I don't get to talk to you enough about WWE in a minute. Announced yesterday, Paul Heyman inducted into the WWE, or will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in WrestleMania weekend. Fully deserved. I can't think of anyone better to be inducted. Just wanted to get your thoughts on that before we continue.
Yeah, I think not only is it fully deserved expected in terms of one day we knew he's absolutely worthy and would one day be going into the Hall of Fame. But it's about where it is as well in Philadelphia, where ECW was obviously so prominent and, had such a fan base in Philly. It's, the stars have aligned really, and it's the perfect place to do it. I think the acceptance speech will be one hell of a speech, and that'll be worth watching in its own right, let alone who else is inducted and everything else that's going on. So yeah, really, really pumped about that, and think that's a great call from Triple H and WWE.
Breaking news. Sorry, Dave, to again deviate. Sammy Guevara has been suspended from AEW. Oh, you've just read it.
I was going to mention it, yeah.
bollocks. So there's me thinking I was going to have some breaking news. But yeah, for hitting his finisher on Jeff Hardy after Jeff sustained an injury and proper concussion protocol was not followed. A bit weird on this one though, because surely it's not his fault that the referee didn't do his job.
That was exactly my take. It was like he couldn't make that decision for the referee. The referees were the one with the earpiece and the direct line of communication to gorilla position and to the medical, assistants at ringside. So I don't think that's on Sammy Guevara to make that call. So I think, yeah, disappointing unless he knew that I don't see how he would know that he was so badly injured, to be honest, or something was so awry. He's hit him, there's impact. Jeff's probably said he's okay, there's a bit of blood, and he's just carried the match. I don't think it's the wrestlers' responsibility to kind of stop the match and go, we're not carrying on. I think that's one of the reasons, or the wrestler safety is one of huge responsibility for the official. So for him to be suspended because of that, hard one to accept, really. Whether something else has gone on and that's a bit of a cover for it, I'm not sure. But yeah, surprising. And I certainly don't think. I think if it was certain other wrestlers, that might not have happened. I imagine if Danielson would have done that. Not that he would have.
No.
If he did, if the accidents happen, I can imagine that Danielson would be suspended.
No.
So it makes me think that perhaps there's something else going on. I mean, Sammy's been involved with a few scuffles and bits and pieces backstage. Maybe there's stuff that we're not aware of that would influence the decision to suspend him. And it's not solely that incident, because it seems a little bit harsh.
Certainly does, and we'll get more information on that, and we'll discuss that properly when we do the review next week. Probably more information will come out by then. The last bit of news was something that broke yesterday after the pay-per-view, and it turns out that Mike Santana, it's not even Japanese, has been released or finished with AEW. I can't say I'm surprised with this one. I just think the issues with Ortiz stopping them being a team, it's so difficult, I think, being a singles wrestler right now in AEW, just due to the talent pool that they've got there. It's a shame he's booked for Revolution Pro Wrestling, and more on that later. But shame, but not mainly a surprise.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if they could have rekindled that team with Ortiz, they should have been AEW Tag Team Champions at some point, and I'm sure they could have been. They worked together. They had a great match against each other, and we thought following that it might have led to something, but nothing happened, did it? And he just kind of disappeared off our screens. So as much of a shame it is, I wasn't surprised at all. And I think actually getting out there and doing the indies, we'll get to see him over here in the UK.
Yeah.
Maybe he goes to Japan, maybe he's involved with TNA. There's a lot of options and great opportunities. I mean, we just talk about those companies, really. There's GCW, isn't there? There's
NWA.
Yeah, there's loads and loads of opportunities for wrestlers right now. It's such a hot product, and so much attention and so much popularity. So if he was going to leave a big company and a big contract at any point in history in the last few years, now's probably the right time to do it. Because, as I say, he'll have emails, he'll have phone calls, he'll have people chasing him and wanting him to appear on their show. Given some of the matches we've seen him have, not just because he was signed for AEW, some of the tag matches, he's had some good singles matches, some of the multi-man matches he's been involved in, he's definitely played his part. So he would be a great addition to any roster, whether it's temporarily or permanently.
Yep, and apologies if you saw me texting on my phone. We've just signed another person to come on the show. More on that at the end. So apologies, I did hear everything that you said. I totally agree. He would be an asset for any company to work for. We look forward to seeing what's next. What is next that we definitely know is that he is making his Revolution Pro Wrestling debut. I think at the end of the month at the Revolution Rumble. I'm not sure if he's in it. I think that's when he's debuting. Well, more on that later. But yes, he will be in Revolution Pro. He'll be an asset to anywhere, and we'll watch this space with excitement. Coincidentally, Ortiz did post something today on Instagram. I can't remember the wording, but it sounded like a lot like he may have also either left or be leaving AEW. Again, not a surprise if that was to happen.
Same. I mean, I think he's been lost in the sauce, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
I mean, as you say, the landscape in AEW, the singles wrestlers, not just the guys that are already there and the established
Mm.
guys, the people that have come in, the people that are coming in,
Yeah.
we didn't see a Carter at Revolution, but we're
Mhm.
pretty confident that we will be
Yeah.
before long. We saw Will Ospreay make his full-time debut, as you
Yeah.
said. That match against Takeshita, which we'll get into,
Mhm.
was absolutely phenomenal. And if that's the standard, any singles wrestler has got a real hard task to break into
Yeah.
that mid to upper half of the card. Um, not impossible. They're both great performers, but I just think they were such a well-loved tag team to kind of rekindle that on their own amongst all the other stars that are there and coming in, and some of the matches that they're putting on was a
Mm.
difficult challenge for anybody. We've seen people like Copeland come in who he's had some good matches, but he hasn't been. I don't think he's made the impact that some people thought he might have made. I think his run's been okay, um, but when you compare him to the likes of Swerve and Samoa Joe and Hangman and MJF and people like Adam Cole to come back in, yeah, everybody's got their work cut out, but iron sharpens iron, and that's great for us as fans. But regarding Santana and Ortiz, they'll be absolutely fine. And also, I would beg them to, make amends and rekindle the tag team, because wherever they go, I think they'll be better
Mm.
together than singles.
I agree with that. I'd love to see them back together as normal. And I'd like to see them in TNA, to be quite honest with you. But that will be, we'll see. We will see what happens in the future. Right, let's get into this pay-per-view and fucking what a pay-per-view it was. The 0 hour matches, we'll just quickly cover over these. The Bang Bang Scissor Gang, I mean, defeated Jarrett, Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, Willie Mack, and Private Party. Jesus, I mean, this was just to get 12 people on a card. I will ask you this question. What in the blue name of Jesus is going on with Jay White? He was literally main eventing and he's now opening the pre-show.
Well, it's funny you say I've just listed off those single stars and I didn't mention Jay White, and that's a travesty, really. And a couple of months ago, I would have had to, because of where he was on the card
Yeah.
and what he was doing, and not just his in-ring work, his promo work. I think he's absolutely brilliant. He's so funny. He still cracks me up now, like
Yeah.
some of the throwaway lines. He's very, very entertaining, but he's wasted
Yeah.
on a pre-show. And yeah, everyone can't be on the main card, and we've criticised AEW, and a lot of people have
Mm.
criticised AEW for stacking the cards too much and having too many matches, having 10 matches, 12 matches. But if you can't get Jay White in a match on a pay-per-view, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like him being a trios champion. I want him to be a single star. I want him to be at the top of the card. I want him to be in that triple threat, or make it a fatal four-way. I
Yeah.
want him to be in that position. So I think this story will run its course, and I don't think it's going to last long in terms of the mega faction.
No.
It just hasn't worked. Um, so I think it's time to cut their losses. Do it sooner rather than later. And I love Bullet Club. I love
Yeah.
their presentation. I think when Juice comes back, hopefully we can press reset and get things going again for Jay White.
Could be that the fact that Juice wasn't there, that he's been filling for Juice, perhaps.
I think so. Yeah, my dad mentioned him the other day. He said, "What's happening with Jay White?" And I said, "I think maybe that is the case, and there are perhaps plans or things in place, because it wasn't just singles matches. We had the great matches against FTR when he
Yeah.
teamed with Juice, and they were really, really good as well. But without Juice there, yeah, maybe he's had to kind of take one for the team to a degree, or they've just had to press pause for now.
Yeah.
And, you got guys like Swerve and Hangman doing a great job at the top of the card. So I'm hoping it's a temporary situation, but it is kind of by the time we roll around to, I know we use kind of All In as a
Yeah.
kind of a WrestleMania type. Let's say
Yes.
that is AEW's WrestleMania, really. It's their biggest
Mm.
show. As the summer rolls on, I would really like him to be in a featured prominent match at All In. A singles match, to be honest, as well. Not just a multi-man match just to get him on the card.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. Or the Bang again did win that match by pinfall. Statlander Nightingale defeated Julia Hart's Sky Blue. I think Julia Hart being injured or having an injury perhaps prevented her from having the championship on the line
Yeah.
at this show. And I think perhaps now she's better, or at least at a point where she can compete, we'll start seeing some challenges for that championship.
Yeah, I think injuries definitely caused that.
Mm.
Fortunately, she hasn't had to relinquish the title or anything like
Yeah.
that. They've managed to just, keep things ticking over. And I think actually a good choice for the pre-show.
Mm.
Because as you say, the story we've seen the ongoing stuff with Stokely and Willow and
Yeah.
Statlander, but yeah, in terms of Julia, she hasn't been able to compete. So glad to have her back. And hopefully by the next show, which I believe is Dynasty in April, it's a new
We'll get
show.
into Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully by the time we get there, she'll be defending that TBS title on the main card in a singles match.
Definitely so. Main card. The show opens Christian Cage versus Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship. Really, really, I mean, the great way to open the show. It was a great one-on-one. Well, I say it wasn't really one-on-one. There was a lot of interference in this, as you can imagine. Was there a little bit too much interference? Maybe. Christian Cage picks up the victory in this with the usual kill switch after. I think kill switch gets involved in this. Really good opener. Daniel Garcia for me needs to be winning a championship this year at some, not necessarily the main one, but I think definitely needs to be a champion of sorts this year.
Yeah, I hope this isn't the end of the story for
Mm.
Garcia and Christian. I thought they had an excellent match.
It
It's
was.
such a great way to start the show. As you say, there were some shenanigans and stuff going on, and it was Nick Wayne that got involved with the finish. He hit
Absolutely
Wayne's well
fine.
through the ropes.
Yes, yes.
Um, I actually thought that Daddy Magic might be costing Garcia the
Yeah.
match. I know we didn't get round. Totally my fault. Apologies, everyone, for we didn't get a preview show out. That was totally on me. But my prediction was going to be that Daddy Magic cost Daniel Garcia the match, and whether he aligned himself permanently with the patriarchy or whether it was just a one-time deal. I thought that's what we were going to see. So we haven't seen that. And it leaves things open. I certainly think that right now, I think Garcia should be the one that does beat Christian for that TNT title. I think the matches he's had and the work that he's done, and he's so beloved by the crowd as well. He's really, really over, and he's a star of the future, but he's a star of the present. And quite rightly, as you say, I think he should be holding the title in this first half of 2024. And I believe he will. I think they believe in him, and they're putting him in these prominent positions, coming off the tournament, the Continental Classic. Even though he lost a lot of those matches, he ended it strongly and had a lot of momentum, and he's just carried that through. And this match was fantastic, and a contender for match of the night. Sure, it wasn't my match of the night, but it would have been up there. And it was a case of after it happened, like, wow, the rest of the roster have got something to beat there. That's a high bar to set.
It was. Speaking of match of the night, I never deviated as much as great as every match pretty much was on this card. I never deviated from the next match. This match of the night. Now, and I'll go into detail on this. No, yes, it was the next match. Eddie Kingston, Bryan Danielson for the Continental Crown. If Eddie wins, Bryanson has to shake his hand. This was, and I'm going to swear, fucking poetry, right? You had the storyline. You had the story in the match. It was all about Kingston wanting that respect. He was not going to quit. He wanted Danielson to shake that hand so badly. He was willing to put it all on the line. They went 20 minutes. Danielson was working the arm. It had it all there. Kingston wins. Danielson eventually shakes his hand. Kingston gets that even that he was even emotional at that point, but he gets what he deserves. He gets what he wants. That right there is match of the night. It was poetry in motion, Dave.
Yeah, it was excellent. He earned that respect, and as you say,
Yeah.
the storytelling by both of these guys was incredible. I mean,
Yes.
the hairs on my arms were standing up at the end when
Mm.
Kingston kind of got emotional,
Yeah.
and Danielson kind of conceded, and he pointed at him, and
Yeah.
there it was just so well done, so well done. Such a great match in its own right, but
Yeah.
when you factor in the story as well, it's pro wrestling perfection.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is a match that's coming up. We'll talk about it, but this was so close. But as I loved, there's not much I didn't enjoy on this card.
Mm.
Pretty much every match delivered or over delivered. You know, it's sometimes we in life you kind of put stuff on a pedestal
Yeah.
and it doesn't meet expectations. This exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
Whole show. I can't wait to talk to you about the main event as well.
Yes.
But this, yeah, I don't blame you at all for calling this your match of the night, because I think a lot of people will call this their match of the night, perhaps even the match of the year so far.
Mm.
Um, it's going to be right up there at the end of the year when different wrestling magazines and websites and publications are dishing out their awards for best match of 2024. This will surely be in the conversation.
Definitely so. And I'll explain my reasons for not giving other matches match of the night when we get to them. And I just, the reason why, anyways, I think it not necessarily had the best, and the wrestling was great. It probably wasn't the best wrestling. And that's not because it wasn't good. It was just the others were outstanding. But everything was the reason why I'm giving it match of the night. It
It
had
made you
everything.
feel, didn't it? It was
Yeah.
the emotion that it made you feel. It stirred it up inside you,
Yeah.
and yeah, Eddie's just. Well, they're both. You know, Danielson's one of the best of all time. You know, that's not hyperbole.
Mm.
He is. You know, he's definitely he's. I, in my lifetime, anyway, and since I've watched wrestling, he's top 10, perhaps top 5,
Yeah.
perhaps even number 1. You know, he's we're right up there. I could make arguments for a lot of wrestlers in terms of what the barometer is and how you grade them and how you class them. But in terms of rope to rope, you know, on that mat in that ring, and any given night, Danielson will have the best match. But when you've got an Eddie Kingston in there as well, he just makes you care. We've said that before
Mm.
on the show. You know, he just makes you care. And this was brilliant. And it did kind of feel like the end to the story as well.
Yeah.
It's the payoff. It was after everything that was said, after everything that was done, after the previous encounters, after Eddie got the victory in the Continental Classic, he still hadn't earned the respect. But then he got another victory and he earned the respect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Absolutely perfect. It was. So we did mention the Meat Madness match was replaced by a All-Star Scramble match. The winner would receive a future AEW World Championship match. So we had Brian Cage, we had the debut in Magnus, we had Dante Martin, we had Lance Archer, Powerhouse Hobbs, Chris Jericho, and Wardlow. Now, this may well have not been the match that they wanted, but I think from a storyline aspect, they kind of done the right thing here. Wardlow gets the pinfall victory in this match, which I think is going to have importance through that whole coming back to the Devil storyline at a later date. The match itself, listen, the match was good. It didn't pull up trees. I think so difficult as well to after the first 2 matches, very difficult to beat that or top that. It was okay. It done its job, but it paints an interesting picture going forward. Now Wardlow is technically the #1 contender.
Yeah, we didn't get a face of the Revolution ladder match,
Oh,
which is what we normally get on
yeah.
this pay-per-view. There were ladders involved with the main event, and
Mhm.
maybe
Yeah.
that was the reason why we didn't get a ladder match as such.
Hmm.
But I thought this was good. I enjoyed this more than I expected. It was kind of thrown together, and they called it an all-star
Yeah.
scramble. You know, so it was a match for the sake of having a match in some respects, but at least there were stakes and at least there was a
Yeah.
consequence. And it was, you know, the winner did receive a shot, and Wardlow picking up that shot makes a lot of sense. They've talked about it. Adam Cole's talked about him handing that shot or handing that title over to him. So perhaps we're going to see more of that now. Maybe we're going to see Adam Cole saying that, you're going to give me that opportunity. Or if Wardlow does end up winning the title, what happens there? I don't think so. I can't imagine. I can't see Wardlow holding that title anytime soon. But I think there's an interesting story to be told, and I think Adam Cole will feature in that heavily. Also got MJF to return at some point, so that could play into Wardlow being in that position as well. So yeah, I think the right winner, a good match. I'm glad Lance Archer. I'm happy Lance Archer is in a pay-per-view. I'd like to see more of Lance Archer in general. I think he's fantastic. I'm a huge Lance Archer fan. I'm a huge Hobbs fan as well. So I think there was people in this match that absolutely should have been on a pay-per-view for AEW in 2024.
Yeah.
Magnus, Dante, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose they've got to have the opportunity, and if they are going to get that opportunity, then it should be in this type of match. But I never realistically believed that either of those two guys were going to pick up the win. So, but yeah, the right winner. I'm happy.
Yeah, definitely so. I was happy as well. Let's move on to the next match. Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong. This was the match that we wasn't sure about the winner. You changed your mind on this a couple of times.
Yeah.
It was kind of, to an extent, a bit of a squash match to a degree. Orange Cassidy selling the back injuries.
It was short, wasn't it? It was a short match.
Yeah, this was maybe because other matches were going long. They had a couple of long matches as well at the start. It was about 12 minutes, I think, in this one. Selling the back injury, which played into, I think there was a sick bump in this one as well, if I remember correctly. I can't remember the move itself. I'm pretty sure there was a move in this match that would look pretty brutal, shall we say. The end of the match, Roddy Strong picks up the victory, becomes the new champion. That ends Orange's another great reign from Cassidy. The big surprise at the end of this was the returning Kyle O'Reilly. Comes out at the end, hugs Roddy Strong. They hand him the Undisputed Kingdom shirt. He hands it back, walks down. Roderick Strong like he'd spent fucking 3 weeks sleeping under a bridge. He come out. He didn't. He looked very tired, and he looked. Maybe this is.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had bags under his eyes, didn't he? And he was like, he did look shattered.
Yeah, poor. I mean, obviously had a very serious injury, first time in 2
Yeah,
years.
it's been a long road to get him back. So yeah, he did look exhausted, but he did look also very grateful for the reaction that he got. He got the
Yes.
welcome back chance, and
Yeah.
you could see how much that meant to Kyle.
Mm.
In terms of the match, it was a good match, but as you say, it was short. I did think Orange was going to win because I just thought the story had stuttered a little bit, or the faction in general, was it hadn't lived up to the expectations. Or the Devil story, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I know it had some criticism. I did enjoy it, and I did enjoy the reveal, but the aftermath hasn't lived up to that for me.
No.
But really, really strong night for them. Wardlow wins and he's the number 1 contender. Roddy picks up the title to add to another title in his career. I think his last championship was the NXT North America title, I believe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, in NXT. So it's another title reign for Roddy. And his in-ring work is phenomenal. And the character work that he did last year was really, really entertaining. So I don't begrudge it, the decision to put the belt on him.
Yeah.
I think he's a worthy champion. I think Orange deserves a bit of a break now and a bit of a rest. And I don't know how many of the injuries are storyline or real, but I would have Orange disappear now for a few weeks and let us miss him. A month or so, give him an extended break. And that's not because I don't want to see him and I don't enjoy him. That's just, I don't know. I think with when AEW cycle in their stars and it makes you miss him, they make more of an impact when they make the return. And I think that'll be a huge moment when he does come back. So that's what I would like to see or not like to see in some respects.
Probably open Dynamite this week now.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's an opportunity now to kind of just give him a break. Just give him a break and bring him back stronger. So interesting to see what happens with Kyle, though. It doesn't look like he's going to join the Undisputed Kingdom.
No.
We'll hear from Adam Cole, and that may be something that we see on Dynamite.
May well be, and coincidentally, and another return that was aired during, I think, the pre-show was the promo for the soon-to-be returning Pac.
Yeah.
Please hurry up and come back because I can't wait for him to come back as well. Tag team action next. I mean, Bullet Club, you know, FTR, BCC. I'm not even going to say. Were we really surprised that this match was so great?
Yeah. It's kind of like, yeah, match by match, it was just everything delivered and everything was great. And you kind of were expecting a lull at some point, but it just didn't come, did it? It
No.
just the action. I thought the pacing of the show was really good. I thought the running order of the show was really good.
Yeah.
Uh, FTR having a potential match of the night is something that we used to, but after the match they had a few weeks ago, I didn't think they could top it, but they arguably did here. This
Mm.
was great. I wanted FTR to win.
Okay.
Um, but they're the baby faces, I suppose, to a degree. I mean, BCC are tweeners. They're not really heel, not really
No.
baby face. But I think in this match, FTR with a baby face, so maybe I just
Yeah.
got suckered into that. But I really wanted FTR to be the ones to go over here. So I was disappointed they didn't, but not from a booking standpoint or anything. I'm not critical of it. I just as a fan of FTR, I wanted them to pick up the victory. But a great match, great. I mean, Claudio, bit of an unsung hero. He's come into AEW and he's not had a bad match, has he?
No.
He just doesn't, whether it's a singles match, a tag match, a multi-man match, he just delivers week in, week out. And yet on any other night, this could have been match of the night. You know, there was just so much competition. There was so much going. It'd be interesting to I haven't read too many reviews of the show yet, but just in terms of match ratings and stuff, I mean, this has got to be pretty high scoring in terms of how the show rates overall
Mm.
in the metrics, you know, the stories, the matches, you know, the crowd was just sensational. I know it was a big crowd and it was a sellout
Yeah.
crowd at the Queensborough Coliseum. How well it would have sold if it wasn't Sting's match, I'm not sure. Because even without that match, it was such a stacked, solid card
Yeah.
that anybody in that area, wrestling fans, would want to be there. So it may well have sold out without Sting's retirement match. Um, but certainly one of AEW's best ever pay-per-views. I could say that without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, for me, I know we're only halfway through the review, but
Mm.
9.5 out of 10 for me. And that's the highest I've scored any show ever, I think.
Yeah, you literally dropped. There was, I think it was a SmackDown that you had as a 10, and it went to a 9 for I can't remember recently. I can't remember
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I love. I think anytime you see the words FTR, you just you just know, and it absolutely delivered. Just a quick side note again, and because we didn't end up doing a review of AEW this last week's shows. Hard work pays off, and hard work never stops. In your case, Dave, you're very busy doing your heating and your boilers. It's winter
Yeah,
after and all of that stuff.
things are quieting down in a few weeks, and yeah, my
Yeah.
apologies again for my poor attendance.
Yeah, no, well, don't worry about that, man. Do not worry. But Sean Spears re-debuted on NXT last week. Thoughts on Sean Spears making the move back to WWE?
Didn't necessarily expect that, to be honest.
Not
But,
either.
and I haven't seen it. So, did he come in as perfect 10 or did he come
Nope.
in as Sean
Sean
Spears?
Spears.
So, Chairman Sean Spears or just Sean
I remember
Spears?
if you had the chair. I think yeah, you did have the chair. I don't know. I
Really?
mean, he didn't speak. There
Okay.
was there's been you remember when I said to you before there was this promo of the three faces and I thought it could have been Okada.
Yeah.
It was him.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think, as I said, I didn't expect it.
No.
Um, but really talented wrestler, great worker, had a really good run in NXT the first time around.
Yeah.
Didn't go so well for him on the main roster and a bit up and down in AEW. Started off in the company, you know, as somebody that really was perhaps going to be one of their top stars.
Mm.
I think it was a match with Cody that he had in the early days of AEW. I think perhaps
Yeah.
the first pay-per-view after All In.
Maybe. Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was certainly like in the early first 6 months of the company being in existence that he went up against Cody in a main event match. And then he was kind of like demoted to a degree. He was more of a Wardlow's manager
Yeah.
for a while and MJF sidekick as part of the Pinnacle. So he came back, had some good matches, wasn't like similar to Santana and Ortiz, wasn't a huge surprise when he left. More of a surprise for me that he's gone back to WWE, but I thought he'd perhaps end up in a TNA or have a run on the Indies, or I think he's got a wrestling school as well.
Yes, he does.
So I thought maybe he would spend more time there, but yeah, great for him. Anytime a wrestler gets a new opportunity and a new job or a new contract, that's great, and we're always happy for them. So I'm happy for him. Glad to see that he's back on television, and we'll see how he gets on as Sean Spears rather than Ty Dillinger.
Indeed, we will. Indeed, we will. Women's title next. Timeless Toni Storm, still one of the best characters in the business at the moment. Defeats Deonna Purrazzo. I was kind of not expecting Deonna to win. The press conference at the end of this, I don't know if you've seen it.
Not yet.
They brought her out and she was like, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about big business. You know who's coming. And she stood up and she went, Wendy Richter, I'm gonna fuck you up. And she said, to anybody else that wants to come into this division, fuck off. You know, got a ranking system, use it properly. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Brilliant. The only question I had was,
man.
she's brilliant character, love it. The only question I have with you now, and it's the one I kind of raised when we knew that Mercedes was coming in to AEW, was the impact that this is going to have on Deonna Purrazzo going forward. Obviously, the loss of the championship match was kind of happened. We knew it was going to happen. But what happens to her now? Does she now switch her gears to maybe Julia Hart and take that title? Because she is a top level competitor in the division.
Yeah, I'm fascinated as to how they do it, how they bring her in. We've criticised the women's division on this podcast. We've also praised it in recent times and said that they're doing a much better job. And people like Serena Deeb, Timeless Toni Storm, Deonna Purrazzo, there's a lot of factors. Statlander, Willow, we got Jamie Hayter to come back. We got Britt Baker to come back.
Yeah.
It's a stacked division, and that's without, mentioning Thunder Rosa and countless other Queen Aminata, Sky Blue. It's stacked. So where Mercedes slots in, who she goes into the first program with, I'm not sure. I mean, if I was her, I just want to be getting back to doing some wrestling because there's been a lot of talk for a long time, and we haven't seen too many matches, have we, since she left WWE?
No.
Yeah, I think you can count on one hand the amount of matches that she's had. So to get her back full time, I'm sure she just wants to get some wrestling under her belt, and some great matches and great potential there. You would think that she would automatically be looking at a title, and there's two of them that she can go after.
Yeah.
I don't know, given Tony's character, how well that works alongside Mercedes' character. I'm not sure. There's probably a way of doing it. And it would be entertaining. It would lead to a great match. So yeah, well, I'm sure we find out, and we'll find out a big business when she debuts. Which, yeah, it's pretty much a lock. It's like the worst kept secret, similar to when Punk came in. They've done exactly the same, haven't they? So.
And expect a similar kind of way. I think they may get it over and done with straight away, a bit like they did with Punk the first time and the second time. Did he come? Yeah, it was straight back out, didn't he? The second time.
Yes,
Can't remember.
It did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I think they'll do that. Okay. Let we're talking about.
Who do you think that she'll fight? Do you think her first opponent will be? Do you think it will be her first match will be a big match, or do you think she'll come in and have some like exhibition matches, or some matches against some of the younger stars on the roster?
I think when she debuts, she may sort of have her sights on Toni Storm then, but they've got to do the ranking system seriously. So I think perhaps Toni Storm may say, well, if you want this, you've got to earn it. So you may see her against the Queen Aminatas, the Deebs, the heel character.
Lady Frost, yeah, she's
Lady Frost, another one, and Soraya's. Remember, there's a story there.
Ruby Soho.
Yeah, and there's a story with Soraya as well. If
Definitely.
it goes back to WWE. So all that can happen. Remember Mariah May as well.
Yeah.
Go through everybody. I don't. The reality is, I'd like her to do it that way. I don't know if she will, but I'd like her to. That's how I would envision it. But I guess couple of weeks time, we will find out when it's big business. I don't think that's going to be the only signing that comes out that night. I think it's big business for a reason. Potentially Camille, although I keep hearing there's more stuff going on with Shawn Michaels and Camille at the minute as well. But also Okada will probably debut at that point as well. So looking forward to that big time. That show, big business, big time. Looking forward to it.
Is it a Dynamite big business or is it? It's
Dynamite. It's a Dynamite. Yeah. A couple of weeks time from Bosstown.
Boston.
For want of a better phrase. Okay. So the big day, the big real proper first match, under AEW contract. Will Ospreay, Konosuke, Takeshita. Okay, here we go. So match, brilliant, world class. I have a problem with it. And it's a problem that's been on social media, and there has been people that I agree with certain bits, people responding to it with valid points. And maybe I'm just an old man that likes wrestling in a certain way. Maybe I need to get to grips with this is 2024 wrestling. There was a brutal spot, by the way, the brain buster in the corner, which went horribly wrong. Will Ospreay could have broke his hip. He could have. That wasn't the issue that I had with the match.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. There was a sequence in this match where one of them done a German. They flipped round. They gave him a German. He flipped round. No sold it. They done a poison Rama. Takeshita no sold it. They done a load of different moves, and then Ospreay hits him with that elbow that has finished off so many people. And you know this from the interview we had with Eric Bischoff. Takeshita kicked out at 1. Now, my issue with this is I'm a big fan of. I'm not just talking about the kick out at 1 here. Kick out at 1 pissed me off anyway. And for me, this sequence, and people are ranting and raving about it online, and if that's what you like, then great, you've got exactly what you wanted. For me, this match went from 10 to 8 because that sequence for me going forward, when every time I used to see a poison Rama, I used to go, Jesus Christ, and it used to get a 2.8, maybe a 2.9. I now look at that and go, well, Konosuke Keshita just stood up from that. So what's the big deal out of it? And all those other moves that they hit for me now have meaningless. Doesn't matter when it happens in another match now, because I can turn around and go, well, Ospreay just got straight back up from that. Yeah. That was my only issue with it. The match was phenomenal, and I'm sure you're going to agree the match was phenomenal, but that's my rant point that I'm not happy about that took it for me from a 10 to an 8.
Yeah, it's it's justifiable points. Totally understand you having that opinion and many others having that opinion. I'm sure, as you say, I haven't saw the reaction. I was avoiding it because I didn't watch.
It was kind of what I was saying, and people were like, well, if you didn't, didn't the Road Warriors no sold power drivers and stuff like they did. And if I was old enough to have watched it then, or to be like in this situation now, I'll be saying the same thing. They shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. I love this match. I absolutely loved it, and I enjoyed the kick out ones as well. I've got to say, because as much as I don't like it, and on paper that shouldn't happen, as a traditional as wrestling fans, you're not accustomed to seeing it, but every time it happens, it still surprises me because they've done it a few times lately, not just this match. We've seen kickouts at ones in other matches, but for whatever reason, I still don't expect it, and I think that's why they keep doing it, or that's why wrestlers do it on the indies, because we're conditioned to we're waiting for a 3 count and we're seeing if they're going to kick out between 2 and 3. Particularly after a move like that, you just don't expect a kick out between 1 and 2. So yeah, I enjoyed it for that reason, that although I don't agree with the psychology, it still popped me and surprised me, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So it's not even like a conscious thing. It's like out of my control, if you like, that I enjoyed it, even though I didn't agree with it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I always look at matches like that. We get some shit as wrestling fans, like sometimes, like over the years, not so much at the minute, it's hugely popular again, but we've had some days when it's been tough to be a wrestling fan and defend some of the shit that gets shared virally. And like, have you seen this? And old time wrestling fans will see botches or they'll see stuff and they go, "Have you seen the state of the WWE now? Or you seen this that's gone on?" Um, but then when a match like this comes along, this is the type of match that I would show anybody that was kind of interested in getting into wrestling, or a lapsed fan, or somebody that never been into it and don't know what the big deal is. I would just show them Takeshita against Will Ospreay at Revolution and go, watch this for 20 minutes and give me your honest, because you got to enjoy it. You got, I mean, there's elements of it that are just so impressive. And I like the story as well. The they were part of the same faction. And
Yeah.
again, Don Callis built it up as a potential match of the decade. And for me, it was, you know, it was like, you don't want to agree with Callis, but it was just so good. Um, so yeah, I mean, you had the little tease as well at the end with Fletcher coming out, and how is he going to react? And we've got a match coming up on Dynamite, which is going to
Yeah.
be a similar situation with two stable mates, not just the Don Callis family, but part of the United Empire,
Yeah.
going one on one, which will be a great match. I don't know how close to 100% Ospreay will be by the time that match rolls around, because his hip and side looked in a real bad way after that move in the corner, which was unfortunate. It was an accident. I didn't like that. That's the bit I didn't like about the match. That's what brought it down for me from a 10 to a 9 rather than an 8 where you are, but I'd probably still have it as a 9. Um, I thought that was a bit needless and it was dangerous. And even if it would have been executed properly, I think to hit like the back of his neck and his shoulder on the turnbuckle, which is what I think they were going for,
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary when they're capable of some of the other moves that we saw. That German suplex that Takeshita does is majestic. It's just so good. He's on he's absolute tiptoes. His head's that far back that his nose is pretty much touching the mat. Yeah, I don't need to see moves like that, like the failed brainbuster, whether it's failed or successful. So that was a blight on the match, but other than that, really, really enjoyed it. But I do take your point.
Yeah, amazing match though. I'm not gonna lie. And at the end, Will Ospreay in these press conference said he's come to AEW for 3 reasons: to win titles, to retire Billy Gunn, and to get a Nando's sponsorship.
To retire Billy Gunn.
Yeah, I think that was in jest. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
and to win a Nando's sponsorship. That was the.
But does he call one of his moves a cheeky Nando's? That
He
kick?
does the kick in the
Yeah,
corner and
yeah,
the balls. Yeah, yeah, the cheeky
yeah, yeah.
Nando's. Yeah, so there you go. Nando's, if you're watching, sponsor Will Ospreay, please. Now the next match was the World Championship match. Now we're talking earlier on. We're talking stories and how important they are, and we mentioned the Danielson. I love this for the story. The match itself, great match. 3 guys that can go. It was always going to be great. What I loved about it was the end. Samoa Joe had a Hangman in the clutch or whatever it called. I can't remember.
Cocaine
Thank
clutch.
you. Yeah. Swerve was going to get to him to break up the pin, and Hangman would rather tap out than Swerve. Basically, Hangman would rather tap out than have Swerve come out and break the hold and continue the match because he didn't want Swerve to win the AEW Championship. So full heel now, Hangman Page. He was heel on Dynamite. He kind of turned on Dynamite. But
Yeah,
that for me was brilliant storytelling because if you look at everything that they've gone through on the Dynamites, death matches, and all this stuff they've done, it just made so much sense that Hangman would do that just to say, "Fuck you, Swerve, you ain't getting this title."
yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's not a fact of Swerve not being good enough or not being
No.
able to beat Samoa Joe. It's the fact that Hangman would rather sacrifice
Yeah.
himself and lose the match than give Swerve an opportunity to finish the match and become champion. Yeah, really. I mean, the match was great. We expect that from these 3 guys. That was a banker, really, that it was
Yeah.
going to be a great match. But the story I don't know where they go from here, really. I'd love to see Swerve with that title around his waist at
Mm.
some point soon. Um, I think I think they should really make. I think Strickland's got to be the champion, in 2024 at some point. But I don't know where they move now in terms of Hangman and Swerve, because they keep having these great matches and it doesn't seem to get old. They find a way to, I don't know, I find a way to take the story in a different
Yeah.
direction. We've gone from Swerve being a full heel in Hangman's house, home invasion,
Yeah.
standing up the cot, to now Hangman being the man getting booed and Swerve the man getting cheered. It's like, it's crazy really how the dynamics changed, but the action never disappoints.
No.
And if at Dynasty we get another match between Hangman and Swerve, I'm not going to be complaining. Um, so yeah, I'm glad Joe won as well.
Yes, me too.
We are early in his reign, and for as much as Swerve deserves a title run, Samoa Joe certainly does as well. And I'm glad that he retained here, and he's been a great world champion for AEW, and I'm glad that that's going to continue at least for a short while.
Me too. So coincidentally, before we get into the main event, the next pay-per-view, as you mentioned, is Dynasty. And I am 100% convinced that's when MJF returns with his. Wait, it won't be with one of his Dynasty members though. Alex Hammerstone has signed with TNA Wrestling, so he will not be one. But I'm convinced that's when MJF comes back.
Yeah, there was Hammerstone and Holiday, the other guy.
Oh,
Richard
Holland.
Holiday.
Oh, jeez. I hope not.
Is it the
He
other
come over
guy?
here. He was here, and I can't really talk bad about Rev Pro for reasons I'm going to get into in a minute. He was fucking awful.
Yeah.
He was.
I didn't. I've only been really familiar with MJF's work since
Mm,
AEW, so I
yeah,
didn't really stuff he did before that he was involved with those two guys. But yeah, I would like to think that MJF isn't a long-term injury. I know he had stuff that he was dealing
yeah,
with. He needed to take a break.
mm,
But yeah, Dynasty's April.
yeah. Another month, yeah.
It would be great to have him back with everything that's going on. I mean, Sting retiring now, that does for him. We'll get into that match in a minute.
Mhm.
But as stacked as the roster is, there is, opportunities for guys like MJF to come back and take the company to the next level. And I think this show is just reinforced all the positive stuff that AEW brings to the wrestling landscape. I totally understand some of the criticism, a lot of the criticism.
Mm,
When you sit through a show and it's this good and it's pro wrestling at its best, and it's not just matches for them, there's stories, there's meaning, there's direction, there's characters that you care about, and characters that you want to see succeed, and characters you want to see get their comeuppance. They're doing a lot right, aren't they? For as much as the flack that they get at times, um, Revolution's a show that will go down in history for AW, I think, and I hope they can really build on it now and keep that momentum going.
yeah, me too. I hope so. It'd be great if they could do that. Um, yeah, we'll get to it now. Main event. Sting's retirement match. Darby Allin against the Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. The Young Bucks. Great entrance from Sting. He had his sons portray two characters. It was a great video package. Really disappointed that WWE didn't allow them to use the videotape library from WCW or his time in WWE. They did, however, mention him on Monday Night Raw. They at the start of the show.
Yeah.
They did. Michael Cole did congratulate him on his retirement. They said he had an epic match last night. At this point, they said he did.
Epic match, did they?
Yeah, Pat McAfee said that. Yeah, on Raw. Um, Disappointed they didn't let him use the tape library, but nevertheless, really nice sort of movie theater with Sting, and he's like, it's showtime for the final time, and that got you kind of goosebumpy already before it even started. The AEW music played. One of his songs come out as Surfer Sting, the other one come out as a black and white Sting. Shame it wasn't the Joker Sting. That's part of it. Would have liked to have seen it, but then Metallica hit. Crowd went ballistic at that point. Sting comes out for the final time. Lex Luger was there. There was a couple of other of his friends there. Scotty Riggs was there as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, co-op, was it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Now, in ways to go out, that you expect a 65-year-old man to go out and wrestling, there's ways. he was a fucking nutcase in this. Like, he was taking suplexes off the stage. He was doing everything. Darby Allin, I'm not sure how he didn't kill himself at one point, diving off the ladder through panes of glass. His back was, as you said before we come on, every time the camera pounded around, there was more blood on his back, and only needed 12 stitches apparently. But I think he's now kind of been written off. He's going to climb Mount Everest in a couple of weeks, I
Yeah.
believe. That's the thing. I mean, this was a way to go out of a bang, literally. I think his son did get involved in the match as well. They win, Darby and Sting win, which was something that we wasn't sure that they were going to do. Retirement done the right way, I think. Wrestling does get its things when they retire, and sometimes they go out doing a job, or the retirement's, due to injury or stuff like this. If you're going to go out, he said it. I think he said in the press conference that when he spoke to Tony Khan about coming in, Tony Khan said he wanted you to go out the right way. I think that was the right way for Sting to go out. So just before I get your opinions on this, they are vacating the titles. There is going to be a tag team title tournament. We know AEW loves their tournaments. It's starting, I believe, on Dynamite this week. But Dave, what Sting goes out with, he went through the glass as well. Let's not forget. I think some of the fans got some glass in their hands and faces when when they went through it, they went back and through it. It was shattering all over the place. A crazy fitting end to a crazy character that was Steve Borden playing Sting.
This is just the perfect way for Sting to go out. I mean, I really hoped and I expected Sting to win the match, because I just thought that he standing there exactly how they did it with the Scorpion Deathlock locked in with, I think it was Matthew, not Matt. I think Matthew was tapping out.
Yeah.
I really hope that was the way they were going to go, but I just thought that Sting might kind of overrule that, being like from the era he's from, and there's reports that he didn't want to win the tag titles because he didn't want to take it away from, Big Bill and Starks at the time, because they'd been a younger up and coming team, and not really wanting to hog their spotlight. But it was just perfect. I mean, I didn't love the glass.
No.
To be honest, I don't think it would have lost much if those were tables rather than panes of glass. And when you've got bits of shards of glass flying into the crowd, I think that's a bit risky and a bit backyard. So if I could have taken the glass away, then I would have been happy. There was justification for the violence, given what the Bucks had done to Sting's sons, and they had made it personal. We've not seen that before in terms of Sting's family being involved. They got a bit of retribution at the start, hitting some Stinger splashes, and I think their involvement as both Wolfpack Sting and Surfer Sting, I thought that was a really, really nice touch. It's hard to picture yourself as a 65-year-old man with two grown sons, but if I were, stand there alongside my two sons like that in Greensboro with a full house, with people like Ric Flair and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who's a special timekeeper. Yeah, I mean that over delivered in terms of a send off for Sting. You look at how he went out in WWE, and you look at WWE have got it right at times in terms of send off, but they've also got it very wrong. Kurt Angle's last match is one that
Don't even go there.
Yeah, he kind of leaves a bad taste. Like that really, Kurt Angle deserved a lot more. But Tony Khan and AEW, if they've done nothing else in the last 5 years, they've righted the wrong that was the end of Sting's in-ring career, because this has been a lot of fun. Some great matches. There's been a few times where we've really thought, he shouldn't be in the ring. There's been a couple of occasions, if we're being brutally honest, where we thought, this is, it could potentially be dangerous. But he's provided so much entertainment over the years. One of my all-time favorites, from the time I got into WCW, he was Crow Sting at the time, which I don't know if you heard, he did an interview recently. He said that that Sting wasn't actually based around the Crow. He hasn't actually seen the film in full. But he does see like the reasons, the comparison. Then he did play into it. But that wasn't the original inspiration for the character. But that was the first time I was introduced to him, and I loved that character, and I've loved him ever since. I think his run in TNA on a whole was brilliant. I really enjoyed the way he came into WWE. That was one of my favorite memories, returns or debuts, right up there for me. But the way he lost against Triple H at WrestleMania, I hated that. And then obviously the injury with Seth.
Yeah.
I didn't want that the way for him to finish such an iconic career. This was the perfect way of doing it. And I'm kind of happy. I'm happy for him. You feel like you know them, don't you? When you've watched them on
Yeah.
TV for so long, you feel like, I don't know, they've been such a big part of your life. And I wished, I really wish I could have been there, to be honest. I wish I could have been in that stadium at Revolution, clapping my hands and giving him his plaudits, because he put on one hell of a match and one hell of a career.
Yeah, definitely so. And good luck in his retirement, and well, richly deserved after the career that he's had. I remember the Sting before you. I'll show my age a little bit here. I was Surfer Sting when I watched it. But what a way to cap off a career. You gave the pay-per-view 9.5. I gave it a 9. It literally, I mean, I hope that AEW use this as a step, as a buffer now, and continue as we go through. Obviously, we've got Dynamite coming up this week, Collision, Rampage, obviously, and as we go through to Dynasty, let's hope they carry on using it as a great buffer, because it was a tremendous bell to bell, a tremendous pay-per-view, and kudos to Tony Khan and the backstage people for the bookers, the writers, for putting together an amazing pay-per-view. So 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. Very, very good show. However, we've got some stuff coming up now. And again, I'm going to do Excalibur now. I'm going to be Ad Scalper for a minute. Let's talk about who we've got coming up on the show. We get our first Bullet Club member this week. Clark Connors joins us from Bullet Club, the tag team partner of Dan Maloney, IWGP tag team champion, I believe, right now. Literally, this goes out Wednesday. I'll be interviewing him tomorrow night. Dave, you can join if you want. It's at 9 o'clock, at 9 p.m. UK time. You're more than happy. I'll put you on there. Thursday night, the next night, we've got one of the upstarts from Revolution Pro Wrestling, JJ Gal, coming on for a Superstar Spotlight. We got a Superstar Spotlight on Friday as well with David Francisco, from Revolution Pro. You'll see, and I keep mentioning Revolution Pro because Monday there's 2 interviews. Now, the first one has already been announced, and I'm going to leave him until that when I mention it, because it is a big name. But we do have Revolution Pro owner Andy Quidlin coming on Monday. Now, that was the one that I just confirmed when we was talking today. So we're thankful to have Andy come on, talk all things Revolution Pro. We're looking forward to that. Monday night, however, it's time for me to cross off another one off the bucket list of Adam interviews. He hails from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm hope and praying that he's going to do that for us on the show. If he does, I may get goosebumps. Mr. Ken Anderson will be joining us Monday. I can't wait for that one. Wednesday, can we top Monday? I think we can. Wednesday, we're interviewing the world's most dangerous man, the UFC champion, WWE, I think Intercontinental champion during the Attitude Era. Ken Shamrock will be coming on when March just gets busier and busier. The following week, whilst I'm on holiday, but I will be joining the podcast for this, we will be speaking to one half of the most decorated tag team in the history of wrestling, arguably. We'll be getting the tables, although he'll be hopefully sitting at one at this point when we talk to Devon Dudley from the Dudley Boys. And also another one just confirmed. He's in Japan at the moment, but British wrestling standout Kelly Six will also be joining us on the channel in this month. March Madness, I think, on the channel this month. Lots of big names, Dave. coming on, which goes to show the growth, the hard work paying off, the no excuses. You know, if you haven't got time, you make time, and you know, all of that stuff, the great stuff. And this is what happens when you do that. The names keep on coming to the show, to the channel, and we're doing what we do best and talking to them. Dave, thank you for coming on and talking all things Revolution with me. Normally on AEW, you send us off on our way with a Kenny Omega special. If you don't mind, I would like to do the end today. I'm not going to do the Kenny Omega. I just want to say thank you, Dave. Thank you, AEW. And lastly, as we end the show with this, thank you, Sting. Until next time, everybody, stay safe.